Let's go ahead and check in with News 13's Adam Longo, who watched the speech with a couple of guests tonight in our studio. Adam, lots of folks wondering why did it take so long for the president to make a decision on this?
Yeah, that's been one of the big topics of discussion, Beth, coming in today was the speed at which, the lack of speed at which, and the precision that the president apparently used in talking with his military advisors to come to this decision. I'm joined by Matt Vlieger, anti-war activist, Frank Torres, veterans advocate. They're our panel tonight. We sat through the speech to watch it, and gentlemen, I want to get your reaction, both of your reaction to it. Frank, since we started with you off the top, Matt, let's talk to you right now. What do you think about the president's proposal? Just a broad stroke, what do you make of the speech that we just heard?
My real question is, where's the hope? Where's the change that we were promised? I know it's no surprise that this was the good or the bad that came with the good of voting for President Obama. He talked about it in his campaign. But where's the hope? Where's the change? What we're seeing here is an expansion of the global war on terror. And while this speech might sound better from Obama's lips, it's a speech that could have easily been given by George W. Bush. And I don't think the American people are interested in expanding the global war on terror.
Frank, your take.
Adam, nobody wants to send troops in harm's way. Nobody wants that. But what we have is the laid out strategy for success in Afghanistan to end the cancer of terrorism and to avoid the chance of anything horrible like 9/11 ever happening again. We have a responsibility as Americans and as well as to our allies in the world to make sure that we succeed. And now we have the strategy and we need to move forward with it.
For both of you, we heard the president talk a lot about unity. I mean, just within the first 60 seconds of the speech, he said it's important to remember why we're there. Of course, we're in Afghanistan because of the horrific tragedy that happened on 9/11 in 2001. Is that fading from America's consciousness? Is there a decline of patriotism now where people aren't necessarily connecting 9/11 with Afghanistan? Let's go back to you, Frank.
It's human nature for memories to fade. My memories are not as vivid as they were almost 9 years ago, but I didn't lose anyone. For the thousands of people that did, and for the thousands of people that were victims of these attacks, then there is no real set choice. We have to prevent this from ever happening again.
Matt, your take?
Yeah, I really think that, you know, an eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind. And while September 11th was the reason they say that we went in there, most Americans right now are questioning whether we should have gone there in the first place. We have a majority of Americans right now who are saying we shouldn't have been there. And as the president said, the vote to go to Afghanistan was 420 to 1. That one vote was Barbara Lee, and right now she has a resolution on the floor to cut funding for the war in Afghanistan, to halt the war in Afghanistan, to bring troops home. And I stand with Barbara Lee. I think she was right then. She's right now, and the majority of Americans. And we have to think about the Afghan people here. Where are they in the debate? Where are they in the conversation? I'm a strong advocate of democracy, and I think that the Afghan people right now are seeing very little difference between the U.S. troops and the Taliban with the night raids and the deaths that they're facing. When Obama came into office, the raids continued. We saw unmanned drones reaching over into the borders of Pakistan who we were not at war with. And for every several hundred civilians that we kill, we get one alleged terrorist.
Well, let's play to your point there just for a second. If we were to completely pull out of Afghanistan today, would our country be at risk? Would terrorism flourish worldwide?
By being in Afghanistan, terrorism is flourishing. We're fueling Taliban. This is the best thing that could happen to them. And to the Afghan people, this is a sign that you will sacrifice. You will feel more death in your country. President Biden said it months ago. He said, if America goes to Afghanistan, there will be more death, there will be more bloodshed. That's what's going to happen, and that's what we have to think about. Forget the economic cost, although it's something that's very important to American people right now, who are sacrificing, who are giving up many of the luxuries that we've had before, and many of those that we hope to still gain. This is a cost of human life, and this is something that my children are going to have to deal with, and my children's children are going to have to deal with. And it began not now, not with this president, not with the president before, but we cannot undo what's already been done. We have to look forward and move ahead. We can't further perpetuate the problem that was caused by U.S. intervention there in the first place.
Let me go to Frank on this point real quick. The president said that if he thought the United States would be safe, he would pull all the troops out of Afghanistan today. He obviously doesn't think that's the case. He's going to commit 30,000 more troops. That's going to bring the level to above 100,000 troops in Afghanistan. Do you believe what the president is doing is making us more safe?
I believe in our leaders on the ground in Afghanistan. He's listening to his experts, his generals, his senior officers. He's listening to their needs. I believe pulling out of Afghanistan before we've achieved victory there, or before we've had some sort of a movement or some sort of strike against terrorism, would in fact galvanize al-Qaeda. they will think they would have thought they've won, and Lord knows what can happen from there.
Let's talk about that point real quick. What is victory in Afghanistan? Is victory in Afghanistan completely disemboweling, so to speak, the Taliban, having them out of the picture and, you know, handing over control to the Afghan people? Or is true victory capturing, killing Osama bin Laden?
Well, it sounds like victory, the only possible chance of victory, from what I've heard from people who say we have to stay there, we have to put more troops, is we have to eradicate everyone, a kill-em-all philosophy. The same thing that people were talking about in Vietnam, whether or not the president wants to pull us away from that imagery or that illusion. What we have to really think about here is the cost that's going to happen and whether or not it's going to really fuel the Taliban. What we're doing there, by being there, is we're giving them more legitimacy. If I'm a young Afghan person, and I like to put myself in other people's shoes. If I'm a young Afghanistan or a young person in Afghanistan, and there's an occupying force in my country, and I see them doing things to my people, we have to remember that the torture policies that later went to Abu Ghraib and to Guantanamo were started in Bagram prison in Afghanistan. If I see these things happening, what am I going to do? I'm going to take up arms and I'm going to fight against the occupiers of my country.
I suppose what I'm asking here is what in your views, should the military be doing? Should the military be looking to quickly get control to the Afghan people and pull out, or should the military be going after Osama bin Laden?
Well, what we're seeing here is we're seeing one of the wealthiest countries in the world occupying and invading one of the poorest countries in the world. What we really need to be doing is looking at investment in that country, not to U.S. contractors, but investing in peace. What we're dealing with here are false options. Peace has never been an option in this president's plan and things that he's been looking at.
You look at the history of Afghanistan,
how are we going to fight the war?
You look at the history of Afghanistan, too, and there's been very little peace in that country for a long period of time. Frank, I want to ask you the same question about the military going in. What do you think the objective should be? Should it be getting the Taliban and turning over control as quickly as possible? Or is Osama bin Laden, should he still be the key target for the military in Afghanistan?
Well, I would like nothing more than to airlift Osama bin Laden right into the middle of Times Square. But then just another leader would step up and take place. I think we do need to eradicate the Taliban, and we need to make gain as much ground there as possible before 2011.
I want to get you guys point on this real quick too. Putting more troops into Afghanistan, is it simply helping move things along there quicker so we can pull out altogether? Is it also putting more troops in there, making it safe for the troops who are there now?
Whenever you implement a surge like the president is doing this evening, you're adding more soldiers to the equation. That's more shifts. That's more time between convoys. That's more time between guard shifts. R&R schedules run on time. Deployment cycles run on time. So you don't have soldiers staying there longer than they need to. And now with a deadline set for success in Afghanistan, I think we need to move forward.
Matt, I feel like the president has a hard sell for a guy like you from some of the things that I'm hearing from you tonight. I'm curious in knowing, though, with him saying that they want to get this surge in because they do not want a open-ended and forever commitment. He's saying he doesn't want it to be another Vietnam. Does that kind of rhetoric resonate with you, knowing that there's an end goal set here for the objective of making it safe and secure for the Afghan people to control their own security, and then the U.S. leaving, rather than a commitment like we have in Vietnam and Korea?
Well, unfortunately, this sounds like the same old rhetoric to me. When we heard about the Iraq War, we heard that there was going to be 90 days that the war would pay for itself. Timetables are always set and then broken. If you remember, in the Iraq War, Republicans were strongly against the timetable. You know, I think we need to get out. I think the timetable should be sooner. We don't even know who we're fighting there. Is it Al-Qaeda? Is it the Taliban? Is it everyone who is against the Karzai government? Who are we supporting? The Karzai government is a corrupt government that the Afghan people don't even believe in. Who do they turn to? They're turning to radical revolutionary forces. And there are forces in the country that are for positive revolution who really want change, and we need to bring those voices to the table. There's the revolutionary women of Afghanistan who are voting for peace. There's Malala Joya, who was the first woman who was elected to the government. We need those voices at the table. We need Afghan people to run their negotiations. Who has even talked to the Taliban? Who has even tried to negotiate with the various groups that are there? There's nothing really that unites the Taliban. There are no cards, there's no uniform, there's nothing. It's out of resentment to our occupation, and it's growing because of that.
Well, that's going to be the last word on it. Matt Vlieger, Frank Torres, we appreciate you guys' time joining us. Very interesting perspectives tonight, and again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
So again, President Obama tonight committing 30,000 troops to Afghanistan. They will be in place there by next summer. The first group to deploy will be Marines, and they will be leaving before Christmas. the war effort continuing there in Afghanistan. And we want to thank you for watching our coverage.